Hello everyone, it's Madi Madison with Spectrum Art.
Welcome to Spectrum Art. It is Madi and Madison and we are back. It has been a little while since we've done a tutorial video. So we are super excited to be able to get back into the groove of things and start bringing you more content. If you are new here, please check out the description box down below and learn a little bit more about Madison and myself. For those of you who have been here before, welcome back and thanks for joining us again and for continuing to support us. Now, speaking of support, we are going to be actually working on something today, which is a lot of fun. And we're going to be using these tools right here on the table. They're pretty basic, and we'll go through them here in a second. But we are actually going to be making one of these. And what these are is these are altered time cards in their pockets too. And we actually sent these out as a little gift to all those who were at our last sale, at our last D-Stash, and who purchased something. We went ahead and sent it out as a thank you gift. So if you are one of those people, you are going to be receiving something that looks like this in your package, and we're going to go through it now and put it together. Pretty basic though. You're all artists, so I'm sure you guys know how to do this, but I'm going to hopefully show you our version of it and maybe give you some inspiration, and we'll see what you guys come up with. But let's go ahead and talk about what this is. Again, the idea is that it's an altered time card. It's very vintage looking, which is kind of neat. But the cool thing is that it's also practical because it is a pocket. And when you have a pocket, of course, this can be used in a journal. It's just pretty to look at, let's face it. But you can also gift it. You can insert a gift card, right? So let's say business cards are usually about the same size as a gift card. You can insert a gift card in here and gift that to someone this holiday season if you'd like. You can also go ahead and insert letters, poems. If you're going to give a gift and you have a bag or a package, what a beautiful way to go ahead and attach a ribbon, right? And just attach this to a bag or a gift and just put some other stuff in there. So again, lots of practical uses for these. And again, you guys, I'm sure, will come up with so many more, right? But this is what we're going to be making. So if you'd like to make one of these, let's go ahead and gather up all of our supplies, and then we'll go ahead and put one together, okay? So the first thing we're going to need, obviously, is going to be a time card. We are very fortunate because we actually got our hands on some time cards that were already punched. These are actual real time cards that people used. So we have all the cool punches and all that, which really lends for a very nice background on a lot of these. So, all right, so you're gonna need a time card. And I'm gonna start putting these off the side so we can clean up the table as we're going and get to crafting. You're going to need some hole reinforcers. And obviously they come like this, and they sell them everywhere. Walmart, online, Amazon. I got these from Amazon. They come like this, and they do sell them in colors, but I like to buy them in white because then we can just paint them whatever color we like. And you can use acrylic, which is what we use here. We did quite a few, as you can tell. Or you can even use a permanent marker to go ahead and color them in any color you like. So you'll need some hole reinforcers. You're going to need some kind of an ink to distress. Now you could use, of course, a distressing ink and tool if you'd like, or you can go ahead and use just a little ink, dauber kind of thing. Also, if you do not have either one of those, remember you can always just have a little bit of paint and then just, with a sponge or your finger, kind of go around that way. That works too. You'll need some white glue, okay? So just some plain old white school glue. You're going to need a hole puncher as well. This is the crocodile, or of course any other kind of hole puncher that you have, so that we can punch that hole up at the top. You're going to need some kind of a corner angler. This is the We Are Memory Keepers corner angler, and it makes a large and a small angle cut. If you do not have one of these, not a big deal. All you need is a scissor and a ruler, right? And that's just so that we can make those angle cuts on the top of the time card. You're going to also need some lace, okay? And we have this really cute, tiny lace. So, you know, whatever you have in your stash though will work. You'll also need a brown marker, okay? And that's for the edging. And we'll go over that here in a second. Some washi would be great. Is it necessary? Do you have to have it? No. But it does actually, here you'll see a piece right here. You don't need a whole lot. See, it's just a little something, and I could have probably done some more up here. Now, if you do not have washi, or if you do not wish to use washi, you can just tear out a piece of paper, you know, piece of page. Oh my God, a piece of paper from a page. Whew, golly, that was hard to say. Or even some fabric. If you have some fabric, you could totally use that, right? Okay, what else do we need? We're gonna need some napkins. Now, I had started with this napkin and then started running out. So then I went ahead and purchased some new napkins from Amazon. And these are really pretty because they have like iridescent on one side and then the other they do not. So kind of cool. And but any napkin will do. And again, this is a winter Christmas theme that we've made, but you can do this with any theme, right? So you'll need some of those, and you're only gonna need a small piece. So, you know, a piece like this is more than sufficient for what we're going to be doing. So I'm gonna keep that. You're going to need a nail file. And this is a really great way to go ahead and file away the napkin, and we'll see that in a bit. If you do not have a nail file, plain scissors will do, so no big deal. And then of course you'll need some kind of adhesive for your fabric, whether it's your lace. If you're using just washi maybe on the border, you know, here instead of lace, you could just use washi or something else, that's fine. But if you're gonna be using fabric here or any fabric in the back, you're gonna need some kind of a fabric adhesive. This is Fabri-Tac, but there's tons of brands out there. Then we're going to need some decorative elements. Now, what we did is, and I'll show you ours again, what we did is we went ahead and used our punch, and we punched out two of these elements on some decorative paper. So these are the bigger tickets, and then we have the smaller tickets, okay? And then you'll notice that we have the big one down here, and again, that's for the to and fro or whatever sentiment, Merry Christmas or I love you. And then over here you can put a name or any kind of a, you know, one word maybe, you know, holidays, whatever. So that's what we did there. And again, you guys can decorate it with any elements that you like, but that's what we went ahead and decided to use. And we use this to make that, but you know, that's from EK Success. You have, I'm sure, other punches or maybe other ephemera packs that you'd like to use. And then last but not least, you're going to need, well, actually that's second to last. You're gonna need some nice elements to decorate with. You'll notice that we went ahead and since we had snowflakes, we kind of went with that. And we use these foiled snowflakes, and we have different colors of those. And the last thing that you are going to need is something cute to put in the pocket, right? Some ephemera. We went ahead and found these and printed them offline. This is a winter fun checklist, and it has things like build a snowman and, you know, drink eggnog, you know, just a list of really fun things to do during the holiday winter season. And then this one is just this little borrower's card, because I figure if you're going to be reading books or anything, this would be a great way to go ahead and write down what books you're reading or what pages and chapters, you know, during these cold, snuggly months. Now, this is also a great idea, and why I thought of this was because of Madison, because I figure one of the fun things in the winter checklist would be to read a book. And you can always go ahead and write down, you know, chapter 1 and the day and that kind of thing. So really a fun idea for kids too. So there you go. That's what we decided. But again, if you have an ephemera pack, if there's some other theme that you like to use, just go ahead and, you know, pick other things to insert in there. And that's it. The other thing that is optional is the stitching. Obviously, we did stitch this one. We used a sewing machine and went around it, right? But if you want to do some faux stitching, you can always just use a gel pen or a marker, right? To go ahead and create that. Okay, so now that we've got all of our supplies, feel free to go ahead and pause here, go back, gather up all of your goodies, decide which little elements you're going to be using, and we will go ahead and get started and get creating. All right, let's go ahead and create. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and color that reinforcer. Now mine's are already colored, but the reason why we want to do that first is because we want to allow it time to dry, especially if you're going to be using acrylic or any kind of a wet paint, right? So let's go ahead and do that first and then set those off to the side. Next, we're going to go ahead and fold our time card. Now, what I did was I went ahead and used this line right here, right underneath. Let me make sure I'm in frame. Right underneath the Wednesday, and I folded there. Now, that's what I did. You can make your pocket bigger. You can make your pocket skinnier, right? I mean, it's up to you, but I kind of went there and creased. You can use a bone folder, you can use your thumb, you can use the back of a scissor, whatever. Okay. Once we went ahead and done that, we're gonna go ahead and hole punch. So using your hole puncher, which I've now placed where? Here. We're gonna go ahead and turn this over because I like to do a little mark. You don't have to, you can eyeball it. It's not like a specific science or anything, but I'm gonna go ahead and kind of eyeball it and say that right around there is a good place to be. You see the little pencil marking? And I think that that's actually a really good place. And we're gonna punch there. So now we have our hole punched. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do our angle cut. Now again, you can use your crocodile, you can use your We Are Memory Keepers tag maker, you can just use your scissors and pencil and ruler and cut those angles. I'm going to use my super fancy homemade credit card corner puncher. For those of you who have been here before, you've seen me use this many times. It's just kind of like my go-to tool. I find it so much easier than a lot of the other ones, and having to bring out anything super fancy takes 2 seconds. But anyway, this is what I'm gonna use. And just like that, we have our angles. And we can throw these out. We won't be needing those. Okay. Next, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and apply our napkin. Now, most napkins come with multiple plies, okay? In this case, I don't even need to. We're only going to need, see, that much. And that's actually enough left over. Now, I don't want to use the whole thing, but let's talk about the plies. To remove the plies, the easiest thing to do, I mean, yes, you could sit there and kind of do one of these, but you could also grab a piece of tape, and then it kind of pulls it apart. If there are 2 plies, yes there are, there you go. See? It's just enough, and sometimes they have 3. It depends on, you know, the napkin sometimes can be high quality or thicker, but we're not gonna need that. Don't throw that away though. Those are always fun to use for other things, and we can go over that some other time. Or you can just leave a comment below if you need some suggestions. And then we're gonna look at what it is that we wanna do. I definitely wanna keep that and that and that. We could just glue the whole thing, but I don't want to. I like to kinda, you know, just tear it up some because I like that jagged, ripped, torn edge. Now, again, remembering some of this is gonna end up under, and we don't really wanna waste any napkin, but we also can't just glue it this way. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna go around this big snowflake right here. And I know that this is gonna be this side. And then I wanna bring this one to this side. So I'm gonna tear that. And yes, you can use a brush with water and make finer cuts and all that, but I am looking to just tear. And then I think I want these on this side. Do I want both or just one? I might just want this one here. Like that, like so, and this one up high. And then this one, we can, nope, that's too close to that. We're gonna put this one up here. See, and we even have some leftover little bits and bobs for other things if we want to, or if we decide that we're going to add some more. The next thing to do is just to grab our white glue. Let me move this out of the way. One really a good trick is also for knowing where your placement is because you don't have to like glue everything. I mean, you can kind of eyeball and see, I know kind of where my napkin was going to go. I know I have some here, and I know I have some in this corner, so I can go ahead and cover those and not have to, you know, get glue all over the place, because the more glue, the longer it takes to dry, right? Plus it's a waste. And I want to make sure I get all the way up to that corner for what I want to do. And then we're just going to pat that down. Now, another great tip is, where is that one? This one, right? That's the one I wanted up here. You can always use the back of your napkin, that extra ply, and use it to apply pressure, because once the napkin is wet, it will stick to your fingers. It will tear. If you're really big about, you know, pressing down bubbles, this is a great way of doing that. If you're not, which I am kind of in the middle, I like some, you know, some texture, but I don't necessarily want like big bubbles, of course not. And then you can always go back, and if you see like this corner's not glued down, it's not a bad thing to go back and kind of put a little bit more glue where you see that it's lifting. All right. So I think I feel good about that. And this right here. Okay. I think those are fairly well adhered. Now, again, it's just napkin and glue. So if when it's done, we realize when it dries, we realize, uh-oh, we missed something, then we can always go back, right? Okay, now let's go ahead and look at this bottom piece here. And see, by avoiding having all that glue, I don't have to worry too much about this getting also glued incorrectly. Now we're gonna come here and do this side. Okay. Ooh. I like that there. And then we're gonna do the other corner. Did we say low or high? I can't remember. Hang on. No, we were going to go low, not high. So let's put some glue down here instead. And put that in there. There we go. Oh, too cute. Okay. So now that's all done. We're going to go ahead and put that off to the side. And while it dries, because I always try to be productive, right? While things are drying, you could just take your you know, little drying tool, your heat gun or whatever to it as well. But for now, we're just gonna let it air dry there to the side, and we are gonna go ahead and work on our images in ephemera. So we know we're gonna use one of these. We know we're gonna use one of these. And we also know we're gonna use one of each of these. Let me move these off to the side. So one of those. And one of those. We're also going to be using a little piece of lace. I know that. So we're going to need that. And I already cut this one to size, obviously, a little bit bigger, because I always leave a little room for error, right? All right, we're going to take our distressing inks and we're going to distress all around. Oh, and you will notice that I went ahead and actually hole punched the little page. Isn't that cute? I thought that was such a cute touch. So it looks like an actual real page from a notebook. see, with a little bit of ink, we went ahead and made it look a little old and vintage and well loved. Let me get a wipe. Because we have some glue and some distress stains on there. Get that all cleaned up. Okay. All right, now that that's done, that's where that marker is going to come in. Oh, and of course you could have achieved, you know, a similar look with just using, you know, your little inker and going around this way, right? There we go. We gave it some more color. All right. One thing that I like to focus on is when you look at the edges of paper whenever you cut it, it always has that white edge. So I like to actually go back and just with a marker real quick, go all around it like this and just kill that white edge. Okay, now that that's done, we can put those off to the side. We know those are ready. We're gonna go back to our time card. Mine is still wet, so I'm gonna take a second just for the sake of the video, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit this up with the heat tool. Now, if you're making several of these, because you're gonna be giving them out as gifts, or you're gonna be, you know, adding them to your presents or office or church, you know, little gifts, you can go ahead and do an assembly line, and that would make it a lot easier to make multiples at once, right? Because then you'll have, you know, all of them pretty much drying consecutively. And there, it doesn't take much. It's just, you know, tissue and white glue, but I'm gonna go over and I'm feeling basically for any edges that might be lifting. I see one right there, see it? And one right there and one right here. So we're gonna go back and touch those up. Now, if you remember the nail file, that's why I had mentioned it. Of course, you can always go around the edges, right, and cut with scissors, like so, like that. You cut, but I find it much easier. And by the way, if this noise bothers you, actually, you know what? I'll just fast forward through it, but just use your nail file. And there we go. It is all nice and clean. And that's the reason why I love the nail file. It just creates such a clean edge. Oh, I just got something snagged on my nail, see? But that's okay, because it's a torn look, so it's all good. There we go. Okay, and that is all done. But it could be achieved with scissors just as well. I know some people are really sensitive to those kind of grinding noises. Now, by now, our reinforcers should be fully dried, so that's what we're gonna do next. If you did happen to cover it up, feel free to go ahead and re-punch it or re-poke it or to make sure that you have a clean opening there. We're going to take our reinforcer. Like I mentioned, I don't just go ahead and glue this down because I know it's going to come off eventually. These things are so weak, the adhesive on it. So I do, this is just plain white glue, just in a different fine tip bottle, but it's the same white glue. And we're going to put that around the edge, center that, and there we go. Okay, next, if you're going to be using washi, if you're going to be using fabric, now is the time to decide, where do I want it? Or like I said, some book pages, some dictionary pages maybe, or an old book that has some really nice writing. This is the time for you to go ahead and decide how much of it is that you'd like to use and where. I'm thinking this is kind of bland up here. So I'm going to use some of this here. And I always want it jagged on my project, so that's why I leave it like that. And then maybe, oh, this is kind of white up here, so let's do some there. Not too much, and I think I want to shape it that way. Just a little piece. And where else? Well, let's cut those and see how that looks so far. And then we can decide. And by the way, this washi has really strong adhesive, which is why I'm not too worried. Usually I reinforce it with glue, and you guys always see me do that, but the reason why I'm not is because this one's really good. This is that Tim Holtz washi, and it's got really good adhesive. Actually, if I wanted to lift this up now, I'd probably rip the napkin off. All right, and then how about a little piece right here in this corner? I think that'd look cute. Oh wait, that's where our lace is gonna go, so we're gonna cover that. Oh, it might still look cute behind it. Let's try it, right? Live dangerously. Maybe something like that. Yeah. I like it. I don't think too much of it is gonna show, but that's okay. It'll just be a little something. All right, and you guys play with it. You decide if you want to use more, less, none. All right, now that that is actually done, we're gonna go ahead and glue down our lace. Now, this is the time where you need to start thinking if you're gonna be actually sewing, or using a sewing machine, or doing faux stitching. The reason why I say that is if you're gonna be doing faux stitching, now is probably a good time to go ahead and do that before you adhere this. If you're going to be machine sewing, then you probably want to wait until you've adhered the lace. Number one, it helps to, cement it in there, right? But it just looks nicer with it, actually, the stitch going over the whole thing. So we're going to go ahead and sew it at the end. So I'm just going to go ahead and adhere my lace. And again, this is a good reason why Fabri-Tac or some kind of a fabric, really strong adhesive, is a good thing, because especially if you're putting it over washi, that's plastic. It's going to be very hard to get regular glue to adhere to that. Oh, I like how that washi peeks through. Yay! That was a good thing. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and let that sit there for a little bit. And when I come back, what we're gonna do is two things. And the reason why I'm waiting is, number one, I want to cut, and I don't really want to get, Fabri-Tac all over my scissors if I don't have to. And number two, I want this to dry, because then we're gonna go ahead and go around the edges. Now that the napkin and the glue is dry, you're not gonna ruin your dauber or your ink pad, right? We're gonna go around and distress, but I don't want to go ahead and distress where there's wet glue and damage anything that we're going to be using, any of the tools. So we will be back when this is dry. Okay, that is nice and dry now, so we're going to come back and we're going to go ahead and cut. And cut both sides. Again, I always give it a little extra just to make sure I'm not short. And there's that. We're going to go around and distress. Now that the edges are done, now I have to decide how deep do I want to come in. You know, how far do I want to bring some of that brown in, which in some cases I really did, and I really like that look. So that's what we'll do next. We're gonna kill some of this white napkin. We're gonna tone it down by actually adding some ink to it. See how it kind of blotches up in places? I love that look. We don't want a stark white, or not white, because this isn't white, it's yellow. But we don't want it that bright. We want it kind of vintage looking. A little bit of age, a little bit of grunge. And it also helps the snowflakes, the napkin really pop. You see that? How it actually, when we darken the edges and we darken around, it actually picks up those extra colors there. Those blues and those teals. Ah, there we go. That looks good. Okay. Now, for the sake of the fact that maybe not everyone has a sewing machine, I think, you know, I will mention that if you're going to go ahead and not sew this, you're going to need to go ahead and put a bead of glue. And we can do that now. I mean, it's not a big deal because I'm going to run it through the machine anyway. And not that the machine necessarily loves to have any kind of a, you know, adhesive on there. So I'm just going to put a small bead just so that it holds in place. And I mean a really small amount. Yeah, I thought it was going to be too little. I barely put anything on there. But you guys get the idea. And now comes the fun part. We get to go ahead. Oh, missed. We get to go ahead and embellish. I missed again. I need 2 hands. Okay, we need to go ahead and embellish. So now we've got our cute little labels. And again, you guys might decide on something different. You might decide this goes up here, this goes down here, you know, whatever you'd like as far as design. We're gonna go ahead and stick with the original design, which had this one here. And you might even put it off to the side or on the bottom. Yeah, that might be a cute idea too. Or you might even stagger them, right? Never know. And you might add some of your own ephemera or use whatever ephemera you have or images. And again, I'm kind of just using those lines as guidelines to make sure that I'm actually straight. See? And that's on straight. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. And as you can see, once everything is glued down and adhered and distressed, pretty much anything in the back, like the names, the punches, and all, it just becomes an extra element that you can kind of peek through and see, but it's no longer a focal point. Now all of our pretties are focal points. Okay, those 2 are done. Now we go ahead and think about our snowflakes and what do we want to do with them? How do we want to place them? And again, possibilities, right? Do I want to use a dark one, maybe, and a silver one? Oh, I like this tiny one. He's cute. Yeah, like that. That looks really cute. Okay, so we'll do that. You can use Fabri-Tac, you can use your glossy accents, you can use good job, baby. Look at that. Voila, just like that, we are done. Okay, and then we have our cute elements that we can put in our pocket, which are already ready to go. And of course, as I mentioned, we are going to take one last step, which is going to go ahead and sew this around the edges. Actually, you know what? It's already adhered, so I might just grab a pen and do some faux stitching. So let's do that. And just like that, we've gone around all of our edges. We went ahead and created a faux stitch. We can add some laces and trims and some fabrics to our eyelet holes or punched holes, and you know, be able to attach those, like I said, or just gift them as they are. So there you go, guys. I hope you guys have liked it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it gave you some inspiration and some ideas, some fun stuff to go ahead and do with some time cards. And another really whimsical, nice way of gift giving or to sharing something with someone, a different presentation for, you know, that coworker or that friend, right? Or that relative. Now, we, as I mentioned, we did give some of these away, and we would like to go ahead and give out a few more of the kits, the ones that look, oh, you guys saw it in the beginning. I don't know where I put it now. Sorry. Oh, this is it. Some of these. So we have a few more that we've made that are extra, and we'd love to go ahead and share those with you guys. So Madison and I have come up with a challenge. The challenge is that if we get up to at least 30 comments, we will go ahead and do a drawing. Today is the 7th, so we'll do a month. We'll say December 8th. We will go ahead and do a drawing. So yeah, so we'll do a whole month of just allowing the comments to run. The more comments we get, the more we'll go ahead and give away. So the better the odds of you winning. So please do go ahead and share this with your friends. Share it in your Facebook crafty groups. Share in on Pinterest, on your Instagram, on whatever platforms that you go ahead and use. We would really appreciate it. And we'd love to share some more of these with you guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a blessed day. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.